Preservation Evoker for Season 2 of The War Within is available on PTR, so I spent some time with it to get my thoughts together and see all the changes, and let me tell you, it's pretty good. I think it's basically nothing but W's, especially for you raiders, for dungeon players, and Flameshaper. We got some stuff to talk about. We're going to go over the changes for Preservation, the tier set, and we're going to talk about those Flameshaper changes. My name's Basil the Healer, and let's get right into this one. Starting off with the first change for Preservation, this is a huge boon to the Flameshaper raiders. Dream Breath now affects you and 5 other targets. That means that it's 6 targets now, but one of them is always the Preservation Evoker. You always receive your mastery, and this means that you'll always have a nice big Call of Ysera Dream Breath, meaning that when you go to consume flame and heal your allies, you don't have to worry about turning away and not hitting them to ensure that you get it, so that you can engulf yourself. That's crazy. It wasn't a fun way to play, and I'm really happy that they made this change. So this should make playing Flameshaper way less clunky in raid for optimal setups. The next change will really require you understanding our mastery. I'll try to walk you through it. Our mastery will no longer snapshot reversion heal over times and dream breath heal over times. Instead, it will look at every individual healing tick and see if mastery would be applied or not. So our mastery gives us percentage healing based on our mastery when we have the same percentage health or more percentage health than our teammates. So you always get mastery. Your teammates, let's say they're 1% or 40% lower health than you, they get mastery. If you're at 80% health and someone's at 90% health, you won't be giving them your mastery, but you can still give mastery to, say, the person who's less health than you. It's really dependent on each individual player. So let's say you're doing a big setup. You have a Call of Ysera buff running, you throw a temporal anomaly, you're going to get a big dream breath on your party in this dungeon, and you get hit, or you mistime it and the damage wave comes out and you take the most damage out of everyone. All of a sudden, your heal sucks. You lose your entire mastery percentage on that heal, and it's gone forever. There's no way to get it. There's no retroactively fixing it. That is what changed. So now you can retroactively fix that. So you could, say, hit yourself with a Verdant Embrace or hit yourself with a Living Flame, and then all of a sudden, if your health bar climbs back up above others, your mastery is reapplied and you do more healing. For players who are sitting there going, I never thought about this, don't worry, this is a buff to you. You don't have to think about it, and you're going to get more healing. As long as you take care of your own health bar, you're going to get a net increase in the amount of heals that you do yourself, which is great news. For the more experienced player, it's mostly positive, but there is a chance that your setup falls off, and yeah, people aren't receiving your mastery, but only for a tick or two. You'll be able to get your health bar back up, and then in no time, everything will be fine. And that's going to be a net positive because there's 2 major benefits to this. One of which is that your setup time requires less GCDs. You don't have to time things as perfectly. You don't need things to be absolutely at the exact right time. And you can get the big burst of healing at the start of a Dream Breath. And let's say that doesn't get mastery in it. That's still a lot of healing. And then you can give it the mastery afterwards. And some people would send defensives even to make sure that they can get this out. That's great, it does work, but you don't need a defensive now in order to have your setup work. Sometimes you'd only send a Renewing Blaze, and you know what? Fine, but that's still an entire cooldown just to make sure that your healing setup is secure. Sure, maybe you want to do that for a Spirit Bloom, but I'd rather us do that for a big Spirit Bloom heal and not for our Dream Breath and Reversion setups. That feels a little ridiculous and kind of counterintuitive. One thing I did test though is that our Spirit Bloom heal over time on Chrono Warden does not follow this rule. And as a general note for Preservation for any developers watching, I do wish some of the abnormalities of the class like this were cleaned up. I think that Spirit Bloom and our Fire Breath heals should also follow the same effects of these mastery changes. Things like the Call of Ysera buff not working on echoed targets feels a little unfair. Maybe have it at a reduced effectiveness, but it's a little weird that I can't throw out a temporal anomaly with an already running Call of Ysera effect, Living Flame, and get the Call of Ysera buff on all of that healing. But seeing as our main heals, Reversion and Dream Breath for our heal over times will work, this is a huge change and it will affect your play. When I was playing the new dungeon, we had a fix bug and we kept wiping to this boss. So I got to try these things multiple times on this encounter, and I even did combos in the wrong order, and I still felt I was saving time. So I really like these changes, and I hope most of you feel the same way. But if you don't, let me know why. I'd love to hear. One of the things that was really helping in that dungeon was our tier set. Our new tier set is something that everyone gets the 2-set bonus, so every healer will share this 2-set bonus, and then we get something unique for our 4-set bonus. Your healing spells have a chance to apply insurance to their targets that heals them for 823,000 over 15 seconds. Insurance is consumed if an ally drops below 40% health to heal them immediately for 320,000. For you Final Fantasy XIV Scholar players, it's like random chances at getting excogitation on people for a weaker value. It's kind of nice. I really like it. The 4-set bonus is that Verdant Embrace always grants insurance to you and your target for 6 seconds, and its cooldown is reduced by 4 seconds. The nice benefit of that is with 13% haste right now, my Verdant Embrace is down to 12 seconds with this tier set, and that does update live, by the way. I love it. It actually means that you get 2 Verdant Embraces within your Dream Breath's cooldown window, which means you have more access to Call of Ysera plays, like using the Living Flames or Leaping Flames when you don't have Dream Breath. So it kind of maths out nicely and you're never stuck waiting for Verdant Embrace. It feels like it's always at the ready. And furthermore, it can be applied to other people, which is nice for healing, like crazy moments of healing where you're using every heal you have to kind of spot heal one person, heal up another person, like trying to press all these buttons. It really did put in benefit when I needed it, and I like that out of a tier set. That being said, for whatever reason, my Verdant Embrace always picked my tank if I Verdant Embrace myself. I'm thinking 80 to 90% of the time I hit Verdant Embrace on myself and the tank got that insurance that goes to an ally. I think this might be a bug, as I asked a teammate to go get hurt. They had less health than the tank. I used Verdant Embrace on myself and it still went on the tank, which was a little, I don't know if that's how that's supposed to work. That being said, it's easy enough to just hit someone else with Verdant Embrace, giving them the heal and the insurance because you will always receive it. It's definitely a good tier set. It feels a little safe, and you might be wondering why they're doing this. My guess is that it's a little easier to balance. Realistically, with all the hero tree balancing taking up probably a lot of dev time, I can only imagine that the tier sets, if you were to make them unique per hero tree and even unique per spec, that turns into a balancing nightmare. So I wonder if they're just trying something a little bit simpler because we have access to this player power in our hero trees, rather in our talent trees, rather than just gear. There were also a lot of changes to Flameshaper, which are all pretty good. You know what else is pretty good? Subscribing to the YouTube channel if you like this video. It really means a lot to me if you're enjoying yourself. Appreciate you. Flameshaper went through a lot of changes, and I will have a screenshot of all of them up for you for a little bit if you want to pause the video and look through them. But I do want to hit you with some of the highlights, as, you know, there's a lot to talk about here, and I want to talk about what I think is the most interesting. First things first, Engulf is now hasted. So instead of being 30 seconds with my 13% haste, 12%, whatever it was, I'm now at a 24-second recharge. I can barely get this down to 23 seconds with a decent amount of haste. So I don't know how hard it's being scaled, but hey, 24 from 30, I'll take it. That's a really nice change. Flame Siphon is a redesigned talent. So instead of your Dream Breath or your Fire Breath chasing around another target, now Engulf reduces the cooldown of Fire Breath and Dream Breath by 6 seconds. And you read that right, both of them. So if you're Preservation, both cooldowns will go down. Over on the right here, we have a new choice node. You can either pick Enkindle for that 20% extra damage or healing on your Essence Spenders, or the one that I think a lot of us are going to pick in the dungeon environment and probably the raid environment. Fire Breath's damage over time is increased by 30%, and Dream Breath's heal over time is increased by 30%. When you combine that with the talent down below, Fire Breath and Dream Breath deal their damage and healing in 20% less time. That actually makes a pretty significant difference. A lot of the time, Dream Breath turns into overhealing. When you level 1 Dream Breath, it's nice to have around, but when it's healing through a mechanic, it tends to sit there for a bit, doing not a whole lot. Having it act faster means you get more effective healing in the window where you probably needed it. And for Fire Breath, this actually makes the heal a little bit decent on Fire Breath. Now, you might be wondering, what are you talking about? Life Giver's Flame, Fire Breath heals 5 injured nearby allies for 80% of the damage done, for up to 5 targets hit with Fire Breath, split evenly among them. If you ever want to test some healing values with Master or anything, literally walk off this tower and you're going to survive. Congratulations. Now I can just cast Fire Breath, and you can see the initial hit doing 1.6 million, but each tick is doing 182,000 on just me. This isn't a ton of healing, but for a move that's typically a damage ability, having this supplementing your other big heals like your Dream Breaths and your Reversions is a pretty significant amount of healing, especially in a move that's almost off cooldown just as it stopped doing its heal over time. And if we engulfed there, we'll get it back even faster. So you can see how the synergy works. And it is quite nice on Dream Breath as well. If you level 1 Dream Breath a bunch of targets, you'll see that it ticks down pretty quickly. And this is a lot of healing. It's the standard amount, but it's just happening much, much faster, meaning you're going to get that in windows where it's useful. And trust me, it's going to feel even better. I did like what I saw in Dungeon. Now, there were a few value changes and whatnot that happened here. Most of these things are W's. And for Raiders, I actually think it is nothing but W's. You guys are winning. Every change here will benefit you in a lovely way. But as for you Dungeon players who want to play with Flameshaper, it's definitely more viable. I didn't get to do it on a high dungeon yet, and I plan to. I just had limited time doing a million things. But I did a 10 earlier on Chrono Warden. Doing the 3, it was not the best testing environment, but also it was a lot more work to get things done than it is on Chrono Warden. Chrono Warden did more damage, it did more healing, and it felt easier to play. Flameshaper feels like you're still putting in a lot of extra work for not a lot of payout, and I really hope something can be addressed here. Now, more viable than it was in Season 1 after the nerfs, so I do feel like if you want to have fun with Flameshaper, yeah, I think you can push 10s with Flameshaper in Champion and Hero gear with zero problems. If you're good at Preservation, that won't be an issue. So I think you can come up with a little challenge for yourself. If you want to have fun with it, I think it'll be great. But in terms of its damage contributions, alongside it being a little bit tougher to heal on, despite it having good resources for healing, I really hope they add something. So I do have a suggestion, and if you have a suggestion of what you'd like them to add to Flameshaper, put it down in the comments section. But if I can throw the devs anything, one idea I came up with was Pupil of Alexstrasza. That's a talent and augmentation that allows 2 living flames to go out instead of 1. Now it only works on damage, but what if for us on Flameshaper, it worked for healing? Yeah, what if you could heal and damage 2 targets with a living flame? That would actually be really fun. You're always getting cleave healing, you're getting an extra target with your Call of Ysera buff, living flame heals. I don't know, that sounds kind of fun to me, but I want something here for Flameshaper. I don't need these 2 to be even, and I want that to be clear. I don't mind if one of them's better for raiding and one of them's better for dungeons, but I want both of them to feel like they can be played at least into the 10, maybe even 12 category with little issue. You just need to learn how to play Chrono Warden or Flameshaper. I don't feel like you should struggle that hard to play Flameshaper, or you could just go Chrono Warden and your life's that much easier. It feels a little unfair. Mistweaver has it good right now. Mistweaver has both Conduit of Celestials and Master of Harmony both pump in dungeons. They'll benefit different playstyles if you pug or if you're in groups, and I think that's really cool. This has the potential, it's almost there. And maybe Pupil of Alexstrasza isn't the play, but I want something here. Something to make the damage feel more meaningful, something that gives it a little more firing power, a little more healing power in ways that are less time consuming. Like, what if Engulf was off the global cooldown with its own internal cooldown, right? Kind of like Iron Fur? That would be super cool. Maybe that would speed things up. I'm not sure what needs to change here, but I know it's just missing a little something. And I'll let the class designers that know what they're doing over there and probably have already come up with ideas cook on that. But Flameshaper for Raid is looking good. And honestly, this is a wonderful patch for us. And the best part, it's PTR. None of these things are final. So they can add to it, they can change things, and they can really spruce it up if you want before launch. But for Raid, for the next tier, oh, I'm probably playing Flameshaper. It's going to be really fun and a little bit less of a hassle. And I think that's going to be pretty exciting. I swapped to Chrono Warden because I was so sick of dealing with Flameshaper. I knew I had the healing numbers, and so it'll be nice to go back to Flameshaper. Let me know your thoughts down below on the whole patch, how the PTR is feeling, and maybe what you'd get Flameshaper. But that's going to do it for this one. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care, friends.